Okay, so let's have a look at the Roller Team control panel. First of all, to switch everything on, you need to push the home button here. There's a screensaver that comes up first, and then the home screen. And let's get some lights on first of all. So switches in the bottom left here, push that, and then interior light. Got some lighting on inside now. The outdoor light is the light above the external door. Also on here is water pump, so if you want any water in the kitchen sink or the bathroom at all, including the shower and including the toilet flush, then the water pump needs to be on. Without that you'll get no flow. So if we go back now to the home screen, we can see in the top left resources. This is all about batteries and water. So on the left hand side, the state of your starter battery and your leisure battery. Your starter battery is the engine battery, and leisure battery is used for everything else in the back, like the electric bed and the lighting and the sockets and so on. Now they should both be reading around that sort of level, at least 12.3 volts. The starter battery is charged when the engine is running, just like a car. The engine will also charge the leisure battery, but that's also charged when you hook up. And also there's a solar panel on top of the van which keeps that topped up as well, so you shouldn't have any power issues. On the right hand side, the water, so the top one is telling you the state of your fresh tank, and underneath it is your grey tank, which is the wastewater coming out of your shower and your basins. So these are very crude. It goes 0, 33, 66, 100, and they're very approximate, so don't take them too literally. If you're running at 33, you could be almost empty. So let's just go back into there again. It goes into a home screen after a while. So fill up whenever you can, and also empty the grey tank at every opportunity. So you can empty, I would advise emptying the grey tank regularly, even more regularly than you fill up the fresh tank, simply because the smell from the grey tank coming back up through the drains can be unpleasant. You'll notice, by the way, in the top right there's a plug symbol. That's indicating this van is currently hooked up to electric. So if you hook up and you're not sure if it's working, that's where you find out, that little plug symbol in the top right. Next button along is room climate. So you've got options of heating or ventilating. Now the ventilating will just blow air around the van. I don't recommend using that because it drains the leisure battery. If you need ventilation, just open the windows and the roof hatch. So let's have a look at heating. So it currently says the temperature currently is 11 degrees and I've set it to 22, and you can adjust the temperature simply by pushing the plus and the minus as you require. In the bottom right you'll see it says energy source, so you can run the heating off gas or electric, or indeed both. So we push on that. It's currently working on gas and electric is off. If I want to run it on a hookup, simply push 1800 watts and turn the gas off. Now 1800 watts is the standard selection for a hookup. Some European sites on the continent have a lower voltage. They'll tell you if that's the case, and if they do, then just select 900 watts. It'll be a little bit slower. Now you can run on both at the same time, which will make the van warmer more quickly because gas is faster. Once you get to a comfortable temperature though, turn the gas off so that you're using the hookup and saving your gas. Okay, let's go back again here. So fast simply blows the hot air through the vents more quickly. Yeah, don't usually use that because it drains the leisure battery more. To turn the heating off, just like that. Now you'll notice that when the heating is on, we go back to the home screen, that there's a green bar across the top of the button, and the target temperature is displayed as well. So that's an easy way of knowing if you've left the heating on. Let's have a look at warm water. Push turn on. Now we've got two settings here, either 40 degrees or 60 degrees for a shower. To be honest, most people find 40 degrees is enough for a shower, but if you don't, then just turn it up a little bit from there. You'll see the sort of glowing red thing which happens on the heating as well. That's indicating that it's coming up to temperature. On the right hand side you can see again energy source, either electricity or gas, and again you can run it on both if you want hot water more quickly, but do turn off the gas once you're done. Okay, pushing on the water pump, that's just a shortcut, so you can select the water pump on or off without going back to the home screen. For hot water, of course, you're going to want the water pump on so that the hot water will flow through to your taps. Faster heating will just make it go more quickly if you like. It'll put more voltage through. Again, you can use that for short periods if you need to, but it does drain the leisure battery more. Okay, and then back to the home screen, and we can see again that there's a bar indicator, a green bar showing that the warm water is on and the target temperature. To turn either of them off, you just go up to the turn off button up there, and you can see that it's cleared from the screen here. Notifications will tell you about any errors the van has found, so normally you push on that and it says no notifications. Here's an example error, so we can see the notifications button has a red bar across the top and the number 1, which indicates that it's found one fault. So if we push on that, it'll tell us what the fault is, and it's that there's no operating voltage. In other words, we're not hooked up, or if we are hooked up, there's no supply coming in from the campsite end. So we can push the arrow button here. It'll talk us through the problem and how to solve it. So the first thing it says, ensure that you've got a hookup attached and it's providing power. Remember that plug symbol in the top right. If that's not on the home screen, up there in the top right, there's no plug symbol, then that means that you are not receiving power. So what you do is you go outside and obviously you plug in. If you are receiving power and the plug symbol is showing, then a fuse has blown, and that's what this is talking about. So we can now push OK. And it goes back to this. Now, once that problem is solved, then the notification will go back to a normal color, and you can see the plug symbol back in the top right, so we hooked back up. So this is another common error. We can see there's a problem here. We push notifications. It says gas cylinder is empty, or the quick acting valve in the gas supply line is closed. So most likely you've forgotten to turn on the brass tap on top of the Cali gas cylinder. So you go outside and do that. If that's not the case, then it's likely that you run out of gas and need to switch to your reserve bottle. Now we can push the arrow button again here, and it talks us through that process and what we need to do. Now, unlike the electricity here, it says declare issue resolved. So once you've turned the gas back on again, or connected your spare tank, you need to come into this screen and press declare issue resolved. Unlike the electricity, it won't automatically detect that it does now have gas. Okay, so I've turned the gas on now, push declare issue resolved, then push reset to this error, the home button, give it a few seconds, push OK again, and then when we go to the home button, everything is back to green. When we leave the van, we want to turn everything off, and that's simply done here by turn off. We've got the option of standby or turn off. Just select turn off. Everything will go off except for the fridge. That will remain on. It has its own separate power supply. If you swipe to the right, there'll be some other settings. iNet is to control heating and hot water from your phone. You need to install the Truma app. Settings will change the things like the clock and the brightness and so forth. And depending on options fitted to the van, there might be various other buttons which are greyed out. Now, there is a known fault on this system where sometimes all of the other buttons for the options that you haven't got fitted will appear as you swipe right, but greyed out. That will fix itself next time you turn the control panel off and back on again. There are various light switches around the van, so first of all make sure that the interior light switch is selected on your control panel under switches. Once you've done that, the left hand switch of this one just by the entrance door will operate the main ceiling lights, and the right hand switch operates mood lighting. Underneath each of the 3 cabinets you'll see a faint blue light. If you touch that, it brings on an under cabinet mood light. On the ceiling just in front of the fridge there's a roof light here. To turn that on, push the black power symbol at the one end. There's also a light switch at the rear bed on the fridge side, just here next to the curtain. The floor lights one is the little blue lights around the floor, so the idea there is that at night you can just turn those on and get enough of a glow to find your way to the bathroom without putting the full lights on. The left hand side operates the over cabinet bed lights, so that's these ones just above the cabinet here. There are reading lights above the rear bed which have an individual switch on them, and there are also USB ports
built into these as well. Now when you go to bed at night, you obviously want these lights working, but if you turn the lights off at the control panel, they won't work. So what you need to do is to leave on the interior light switch on the control panel, which is under the switches button, and then turn off all the lights that you don't need. So using the main switch by the habitation door, you can turn off the main lights, and also turn off the mood lighting under the cabinets by pushing the little blue button that's located under the cabinets. Now the same thing applies to this light, which is the light above the drop-down bed. That one also requires power, of course, and you can switch that on and off using the little button on the end there. In the bathroom, the light switch is a bit oddly positioned underneath this cabinet at the back here, and that will turn on the two lights above the basin. So just to make sure you can find that in the dark, I've installed a light here which should come on as soon as you open the door to help you find that light switch. At night time, because you're turning on the power to all the lights so the reading lights work, you want to make sure that this one is off. Now when you are hooked up, your two 3-pin sockets will work. One of them is here above the hob, and the other one's a bit bizarrely positioned behind the passenger's seat on the side panel there. So these 3-pin sockets will work when you're hooked up, and then you can operate a normal hairdryer, for example. There are USB sockets positioned just by the table there. You've also obviously got one in the cab here, and I've given you an adapter above the steering wheel for 2 more there. And you'll also find USB points built into the reading lights in the rear bed. And to open the fridge, pull the handle towards you. There's a freezer section at the top. If you find that this door doesn't open because it's jammed, it just means you've recently opened it. It needs a little time to repressurize, 2 minutes maximum, but usually 30 seconds or so. So don't force it, just give it a few moments. And then in the bottom, you've got a separate drawer which contains the drinks chilling cabinet. You can move that barrier around to hold your drinks upright. You'll see that the oven tray is stored in here because it rattles around less than it does in the oven itself. If there's a blue light in the power button on the left, that means the fridge is on. And if there's nothing in these lights, it means it's happy, it's working successfully. If you wanted to turn the fridge off completely, you just hold down the power button for 3 seconds. To turn it back on again, hold down again for another 3 seconds. This fridge can run from the engine battery when you're driving, or the alternator. It'll run from hookup if you've got electric hookup, and it'll run from gas if you don't have electric hookup. Now it automatically chooses between those 3 power sources, so most of the time you don't have to think about it. But you can tell what it's doing. And the way you do that is pushing this square button, and some symbols come up. The A means it's in automatic mode. It will choose automatically the right power source. The plug means that in this case it's running off the electric hookup. This fades after a second. Just push the square button to reactivate. And the lights on the right hand side, that's indicating the temperature of the fridge between 1 light and 5 lights. 5 is the coldest. Cold 5 bars, that will freeze your vegetables potentially, particularly lettuce, so I tend to leave mine on 4 bars. And when the engine is running, you'll see this battery symbol lit up, which means it's running from the engine battery. And finally this one, the flame symbol, means it's running on gas because I've turned the engine off and I don't have electric hookup. If everything's flashing like this, it means that it can't find a power source. So you've turned the engine off, you've arrived at your site, there isn't a hookup. You've turned your gas on, but the fridge is saying it can't operate from the gas for some reason. It's just because during driving the gas has gone back down the pipe and the fridge can't see it. So what you do to resolve that is, first of all, make sure that your gas is switched on. Light a hob which will pull the gas through the system. Just a couple of seconds is fine. And then turn the fridge off and back on again. So hold down the power button 3 seconds, it turns off. Hold down another 3 seconds, turns back on again. And that'll force it to check again, and now it's found the gas. Now if that doesn't work and it's still not selecting gas, it's still flashing at you, then you can set the fridge to manually work off a particular power source. In other words, you take it out of automatic mode. To do that, push the square button. It's currently saying it's running on automatic. Hold the button down for 3 seconds. Push the right hand arrow and you can tell it to work off hookup or engine battery or gas.
Most likely you'll be choosing gas. Push the square button again to select. This is also where you can adjust the temperature of the fridge. So to go colder, it's right arrow. To go less cold, it's left arrow. I'm going to leave it on 4. Push again. So this is now operating on gas in manual mode, so the A is missing. And it's working fine now. But we don't want to leave it in manual mode, because then when you turn off the gas and leave your campsite and start the engine, it won't automatically switch to engine mode, and that means your fridge will be off. So once we've done this and we're happy it's now working on gas as we want, push that button 3 seconds again, go left, 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 back to automatic mode, push again, happy with the temperature, push again, and now we're back in automatic mode and working off gas. To operate the hob, just make sure that the gas is turned on at the gas bottle, and then push and rotate one of the gas rings. You can hear the sparker going, it's automatic. Let go after 5 seconds or so, and then you've got gas. To turn off, rotate back to 0, and the gas will be cut off automatically and the flame goes out. Make sure that the 0 is lined up with the 0 on the control panel there, just to make sure the gas is fully switched off. Now, you will have a hot hob here if you've been doing a lot of cooking, so leave the lid up for a little while to let it cool off before you lower that. Make sure you travel with the lid down. It will rattle a bit during travel, so you can put a tea towel under the edge of it. That helps a lot. The gas oven also has a grill. To use the grill, turn the knob in the clockwise direction for the flame symbol. Push this in, which releases the gas, and then push the sparker button. After a few seconds, let go of the sparker, but keep the knob held in for 10 seconds or so, and then you can release and it will stay on. And that's the hob, and that is a flame at the top of the oven there. To light the oven, just go the other way, push in to release the gas, sparker again, and then keep this held in for 10 seconds or so. Then you can let go, and the oven flame is at the bottom at the back there. Obviously you can adjust the temperature to the gas mark that you require. Turn the oven or hob off, rotate to 0, and the flame will go out automatically. So to bring the television out from the wall, we need to find this lever at the back and move it to the right, and that releases the television so that you can then pull it away and angle it as you need to. The remote is strapped on the wall behind the television. To get power to the TV, we're going to need to make sure the control panel is on, and under switches, make sure the interior light is on. That's where it draws power from. You can then tell that it's got power because of a little red light under the bottom edge there. To turn it on, push the power button, of course. Nothing appears to happen, but you will see that the light turns to blue. Give it a few seconds and it'll come up with this screensaver. If the television needs tuning, you're going to get this message up. You need to hold down the orange AQT button there for a few seconds. It'll come up with this screen. Now, it is a bit temperamental. If you don't get that, turn the television off and back on again and try the AQT button again. As it says, you choose the country you want. So if you're not in the UK, use the left and right. I don't think you'll be in New Zealand somehow. Button to choose the country you want, and then push the OK button in the middle of the wheel here, and it'll go off and start tuning, and in 5 minutes or so it'll leave you on probably BBC One, whatever stations it can find. So here we are. It's always showing Escape to the Country as far as I can make out. There is a DVD player built into the back of this set here, that slot there, and your DVD goes in with the label facing backwards, so the shiny side towards you. There are also some controls you'll see underneath the slot there, but they're duplicated on the remote. So what you need to do is to put your DVD in, and if it doesn't automatically select the DVD, push the source button here and then go down to DVD, and it'll select it there for you. To eject the DVD, it's this eject button just here, and then you've got the pause, fast forward, etc. buttons there. And to change it back to digital TV, just push source, go up to digital TV and push OK again, and it will of course be Escape to the Country again.
When you're putting the television away, I know it's obvious, but just make sure that this clip here is engaged back in. So turn to the right, push the television backwards, and then re-engage at 12 o'clock, and just make sure the television is held in place. The reason for that is if it's sticking out when the electric bed is moved down, then it'll dislodge the television from the wall. Windows open using these handles that turn through 90 degrees. If there's a button on them, that means it's a lock, and you've got to push that before you can turn the handle. Once those four are open, you can then push it open, and there's a thumb wheel here that you can tighten off to hold it in place. When you close it again, you can, if you want, put it in a ventilation position, so where the handle goes in between these two plastic notches. So this is closed, and that's in the vent position. A little bit of air coming in, but it's still secure so nobody can get in from outside. The windows have an insect blind and a blackout blind. The insect blind is at the back, and you just wind it downwards manually. And when you go to the bottom, just push it back slightly and it'll hook in place. Then your blackout blind comes down over the top, and this has a position in the middle, so if you wanted it sort of half blacked out, you can put it there. If you want it fully blacked out for night time, all the way down to the bottom, and just push it back slightly at the bottom and it will lock into place. And to release, down and towards you, don't let go, just guide it up slowly. And the insect blind again down and towards you, and guide it up. You need to not operate the blackout blind without the insect blind first, because it can put strain on it and break it or tear it. There are roof windows in the living area and also above the bed, and to open that, push this button and slide the bar backwards, and you can see that there are two slots there. The first one is a ventilation position, just to let a little bit of air in. I wouldn't recommend using that at night if rain's expected. On the one over the bed, you might get a little bit of water coming in. The next one is slightly more air, a little bit more open. Or you can fully open it for hot weather like that. To close it, just slide it back along the groove and then push it back past the button and lock in place. And these roof windows have a blackout blind and an insect blind that just slide across. Above the cab there's a roof light. This opens by swinging out the four handles, two on the side and two on the top edge. No locks on these ones. And then you push it outwards like so, and you can lock it in place by tightening off the wing nuts on both sides of the window light. There's a ventilation position on this window as well, so you let a little bit of air in. And you've also got a blind at the bottom that you can pull up. It's your blackout blind and the insect blind that pulls down from the top. Now in hot weather, very hot weather, don't fully close the blackout blind. So if you're leaving the van during the day, you don't want it to get hot, you can pull this up and that's fine, but make sure that you leave a gap of a few inches at the top, otherwise the heat build-up on the inside there can warp the window itself. There's also a fly screen on the habitation door. To operate the drop-down bed, you just push the down button and keep it pushed until the bed stops moving. But just make sure, first of all, that the television is fully stowed back in place so that the bed doesn't catch on it and take it off the wall, which wouldn't be fun. Now the bed will stop automatically before it hits the seats. You've then got the ladder there. Just hooks on where I put the two labels there onto the edge. You've also got a light up there for your use. Just make sure that the interior light switch is left on at night, otherwise that won't work. Now if you've got children staying in the bed, or you're concerned about possibly falling out, if you dig around under the mattress you'll find this netting here, and these just clip into the ceiling hooks up there.
and we'll give you netting all the way around the bed for safety. And when you do put the bed away, put the ladder on top, just make sure that these hooks on the end of the ladder go off the end of the mattress, otherwise it will snag as it goes up. Just make sure that it's pulled snugly to the right hand side so the hooks aren't sticking out too far. Winding the bed back up, it's just a case of pushing this up button until the bed stops moving. Now you can leave your duvet on the bed, but do remove pillows, because otherwise it will strain the motor as it reaches the top here and can blow the fuse. So pillows need to come down, but your duvet can stay up there. The bar here is the usual one to move the seat forwards and backwards, but the one above it here is what you pull to release the seat swivel, so that you can rotate the seat to face the rear. Now the hand rests here are on a ratchet system to pull out the way. Go all the way down and pull it up to where you want, and if you want to release it because it's too high, you need to go up to the top, all the way back down again and reposition. As you swivel the seats, you might find that they hit the side of the van, or in particular the driver's one here will hit the steering wheel. So what you then need to do is to use the backwards and forwards bar here to move the seat further backwards, and then there'll be enough clearance to clear the steering wheel. It's a bit tight, but it works. There's also a steering wheel adjuster here, so you might be able to push the steering wheel further back if it's in a forward position. Don't forget to lock it again after you've adjusted it. Once the seats are turned, you can pull the table out by squeezing this trigger underneath here, and that'll release it to pull the table further outwards so that people at the front can reach it as well. To use the toilet, first of all, you can swivel the whole pan like that so you can get your legs comfortable. It doesn't lock into place, it just moves freely. And to use it, you need to open the lid, and you'll see in the bottom there that there's a valve which is closed, a plastic valve. To open that, you pull this lever on the front to the right hand side like that. That opens the valve in the bottom of the toilet. That's closed and that's open. You can now do your natural processes. Toilet paper can go down here, and that's located in this little drum in the bathroom. However, wipes can't, so if you use wipes to clean the toilet, they need to go into a bin separately. Now once you're done, you can use the flush button. So as long as the water pump is on, when you push this, it'll flush fresh water around the bowl just for as long as you push that button. When you're done, don't forget to close the valve again. That's really important to stop smells coming up. And then you can just close the lid and put it back into its original position. So the basin tap is also the shower head, and it works like this. To turn it on, lift the lever upwards and you'll get water flow. You can turn it to the left hand side for hot and the right hand side for cold, as indicated on this little thing on the tap here. To go into shower mode, you push the button on the top. To go back into tap mode, push it on the bottom. So shower mode, tap mode. To use a shower, first you need to remove this duck board. That just lifts out of place, and you can slot it in inside the toilet just there. Now the shower screen unfolds by unclipping these poppers. So there are two of those, there's one further down as well. And then the shower screen will unfold like this. And when you're inside, the leading edge clips in to the magnetic strip along the edge here. So if you use the shower head, you just pull the tap and it comes out like that. You can then clip the shower head into the holder if you want to do that, just like so, and then turn on the water by lifting the handle here and hot to the left, cold to the right. However, it is a bit tight in here with the pipe in the way, so what I tend to do is just, when you're not using the shower, is just to lay it in the basin there, out of the way. Remember, you want to use as little water as possible, so you need to rinse yourself down and get wet, and then turn the water off and put the shower head in the basin while you're lathering up, and then at the end rinse off. If you run it continuously like you do at home, you're going to run out of water quite quickly. So once you're done, you just manually push this back into the recess like that. And then finally just replace the duck board. So don't forget to fold the shower screen back into place and then secure it with the plastic straps so that they don't bang around while you're travelling. So looking in the cab, first of all, there's a full tank of diesel supplied, so please bring it back full. Now down on the right hand side here we've got the lights control. They aren't automatic, so you need to remember to turn them on manually. That's side lights, that's main lights. And we'll now see the little green side light symbol lit. And to go to full beam, you need to push the left hand stalk backwards. And that operates onto the main beam. Push it away from you backwards again and it will go to dip. Pull towards you and you'll flash. And that's also the indicators on the left stalk, of course. On the right hand stalk here, we've got the wipers. So up for on, you can control the regularity of the interval here. If you go down, that's a flick wipe, and pull towards you for screen wash. And next to the lights there's the fog switch, operates the rear fog lamps, and that's indicated by a little orange symbol here. These two buttons will adjust down or up the brightness of the display, and this is your electric windows, so that's off. That's to select the driver's side. This is the passenger side, and you can then go up, down, left, right, and that will change the top mirror only. It won't change the bottom one, which is your blind spot mirror, so that needs to be done manually. Next to the handle on both doors you'll see the lock and unlock buttons. Those will lock the cab doors only. It won't affect the habitation door in the back, which needs to be locked manually. When you push the lock button at night here before you go to sleep, that will lock the two cab doors without setting the alarm. The steering wheel on the right hand side is the trip computer, so this button here on the right will cycle through various options you've got on the display there, and to go down on that menu, push this OK button downwards. To go back up, upwards, and the button on the left is to go back to the previous menu. So the most useful thing on here really is to go down to computer 1 reset if you want to set the trip computer to see what economy you're doing, how far you're going. Push OK on that, and then push OK on all values and hold OK down to reset. Left hand side is cruise control. So to set this, first of all turn the cruise control on using this button here, and display it says set. When you're going at the speed that you want to hold at, push this RES button upwards to set your speed. To cancel cruise control, just push cancel, and to resume the speed you previously had set, when you're ready, just push the resume button inwards. This one's a speed limiter. If you wanted to set a maximum speed that you can go, push that button. It says lim set miles per hour. When you're going at the speed that you want to set as a limit, push the resume button upwards. In this little cubby there's a spirit level, so when you're using your leveling blocks, one person outside watching you go up the wheels and to give you guidance, and the driver's watching the spirit level to see that you're roughly level in both dimensions, left, right and forwards, backwards. The main reason for being level is the fridge doesn't work very well unless you're level. Here you can turn the traction control on or off, and here you can put it into eco mode, which shows on the display here. That will limit your acceleration in order to save fuel. On the left button here you can turn off the start stop function if you want to. So to move off, you need to move the vehicle out of park into D or drive mode. To move the gear stick you need to be pushing the little switch here behind the gear stick, so we can then move from park, past reverse, neutral and drive. And there's an indicator on the dashboard here which tells you which mode you're in. When you're in drive you can manually shift gear as well by using that to go down a gear, or plus to go up a gear. The idea of this is to lock the vehicle in so it can't change gears. So if you're on a very steep hill in the Alps, for example, you want to lock it into second, you could use that. However, the Ford transmission is extremely good, and it's very rare you'll need to use that, if at all. So the M position, that's manual driving, so that's just a position you choose if you always want to be able to change gear manually using this. Again, it's pretty redundant. The neutral position isn't generally used. However, if you are caught in traffic and having to sit there for a while, it will avoid overheating the gearbox if you move the gear stick into neutral and keep your foot on the brake. So rather than keeping it in drive with the foot on the brake, move it to neutral, and that'll take some pressure off the gearbox. If you're stuck for a very long time in a traffic jam, you can of course move it into park, and then you can take your foot off the foot brake. When you come to a standstill, you're parking up, you need to first of all put the handbrake on fully and then move the transmission into park, and the car will remind you if you haven't put it into park. The reason for doing it that way around is the full weight of the vehicle needs to be held on the handbrake and not on the park transmission, otherwise it'll strain the transmission. On a similar vein, if you're driving and you come to a standstill, you want to go into reverse, make sure you come to a complete stop before you select reverse. And on the same vein, if you're in reverse and you're going forwards, obviously come to a complete stop and then shift to drive. Also, if you're coasting downhill, don't move it into neutral like you might do with a manual car. It won't save you any fuel, and it also means you've got no engine braking and no opportunity to accelerate if you need to get out of trouble. So no coasting down hills. And that's the automatic gearbox. Top button will unlock the cab doors, the middle button will lock them, second press of the middle button sets the alarm, and the bottom button doesn't do anything on these motorhomes. Now all the other locks on the van, apart from those cab doors, are locked using this black key which you find on the fob here. So that will lock the habitation door, the gas locker, the toilet cassette drawer, the garage locks on both sides, and also the water filler. So coming back to the habitation door, to lock this, just insert the black key, turn it clockwise, and you're now locked. This type of lock, which is on the garage and the gas locker, you can tell it's unlocked at the moment because the handle is sticking out. Yep, so I can just open it up like that. Close it, rotate clockwise, insert the key, and turn the key anti-clockwise through 180 degrees, pull the key out, and then you can bang the lock shut. So that's also a good visual indicator. I can tell that's locked because the handle is in. The toilet cassette door, to open, you just push the top and bottom buttons at the same time, if you've got two hands, and grab the edge here and pull it open. And to lock it, just turn anti-clockwise 90 degrees. You can tell it's locked because it doesn't push in. So it's really important whenever you leave the vehicle to push that lock button twice to set the alarm, but then to go around all of the other locks and using the black key, lock everything, the garage, the toilet cassette, the gas locker, the water filler, and particularly this habitation door. Fill up with diesel, you just need to open the passenger door and then flip this open, and it's straight in there, no key required. So by law the gas must be turned off during travel. So to go into the gas locker, first of all unlock it with your black key, open the handle, and look for the tank that has the pipe supplied to it. That's your current live one, and there you've got the brass tap, and you simply open it when you arrive somewhere by rotating that way, and close it for travel by going clockwise like that till it's firmly closed off. Now if you've run out of gas, you need to change across to the reserve bottle. First thing you need to do is to turn the gas supply off, and then we're going to disconnect the supply hose here just by turning this black nut. Now this is a reverse thread, so to undo things we're used to going anti-clockwise. In this case you go clockwise. Quite a long thread. Take that out, and the dust cap here goes on to the empty one, and again it's the wrong way around of course, so it's anti-clockwise. and then the reverse procedure. So you've got the reserve tank there, the dust cap which comes off in a clockwise direction, and then you hold the connecting pipe against the thread. You've got to hold it quite straight to line it up, and then you're going anti-clockwise. This needs to be done up as tightly as you can. There we go. And then turn the gas on that way. And again, because you've connected a new tank here, you'll find that there'll be some air in the system, and you'll need to purge that by lighting the hob, which will pull the air through so that it then supplies the other appliances. Now, during travel the gas sinks back down through the pipe, so it might be that even though you've turned it back on again, it's not reaching the van's appliances. So to put it through, what we want to do is to light a hob, and that'll pull the gas through the systems. Now this is particularly true after you've changed to the reserve bottle. There'll be a lot of air in that pipe and you'll need to pull the gas through. And this will then make sure that the fridge and the heating and hot water systems and the oven are all receiving gas and working. And it's very likely that when you turn the gas on, especially after you've changed to the reserve bottle, that the fridge can't see the gas, as it were, and you'll get this flashing, which means that the fridge is off. And we know the gas is on, but it's still not finding it. So what we're going to do is to turn the power off by holding the power button down for 3 seconds. Turn it back on again. That will encourage it to check once more, and now it's finding the gas. If you're on a campsite with an electric hookup point, you can hook up to their power supply. That means that the heating and hot water systems and the fridge will use electricity instead of gas, which will save your gas. The oven and the hob will still require gas, of course. So to hook up, you just open this lid, there's no key involved, and your power cable looks like this. You want the end with the cap on it, and you just use your thumb like this to lever the cap up to 45 degrees, and then you slot it in like this. Push in until it clicks like this and it's firmly in place. The other end of the cable looks like this with no cap, and that goes into the supply. On the campsite, of course, there'll be a rain cover over this. It'll be out on your pitch, but there will be a cover underneath that, which is here. You lift that up, you'll see a slot at the bottom of there. That engages with the notch here on the underside, so that's how you tell which way up it goes. Push in firmly and it clicks. There'll be a switch of some sort. It might be an RCD type one, which you have to push upwards, or it might be like this one. Now your supply to the motorhome should be on. Now, how do you know that the electricity supply is working? 2 clues. First of all, on the control panel there'll be a little plug symbol in the top right. And secondly, your fridge would have switched to electric automatically. And if you push the square button, display will show a plug symbol indicating that it's working from electricity now. And don't forget, now you've got a power supply to run your heating and hot water from the electricity, not the gas. You have to tell it. So if we go into heating, for example, the bottom right there you can see energy source. Currently it says gas. Push that and we can choose electricity. A normal UK supply is 1800 watts, so we can click on that, and on the gas side click turn off. Now we're on 1800 watt supply of electricity. Some continental sites and some smaller sites will have a lower supply, in which case you'll need to click 900 watts. Similarly for hot water, pushing that, turn on, and again, and down the bottom right you can select your power supply. We'll go for 1800 watts, gas is off. Now when you're leaving your campsite, you're ready to unhook. You need to push down this black lever here, it's hard to see, and that will release the plug. So grab it like this, thumb on the black lever, downwards and out. The campsite end probably won't let you pull the plug out until you've turned it off. So to empty the toilet cassette, we're going to go into the cassette drawer, unlock there, push the top and the bottom buttons at the same time. You've got 2 free hands whilst you're grabbing the edge of the door. just here, and then you can put it open. And to remove the cassette, we're going to pull up this blue lever and use the handle to pull the cassette out. If you get to about here and it's stuck, it won't come open. It's because the grey valve inside the toilet bowl is in the open position. If that happens, push this back in again, go into the bathroom, close the valve, and then you'll be able to put it out. Okay, now we're going to take this across to our black waste disposal point, or your public toilet, so we can dispose of its contents in the sewage system, which is a legal requirement. You can either carry it just by carrying the handle like that, or if it's quite heavy, there is a drag handle here that just unclips from the bottom and then clips into place, and you can just drag it along like that. So once we've got to the black waste disposal point on the campsite, or to the public toilet, we're going to empty the cassette. You need to be wearing gloves for this, which is supplied in the garage of the motorhome. Undo the outlet pipe to 45 degrees, take the cap off, put that somewhere really safe so it doesn't go down a grate or go missing. And to empty it out, you want to use your right hand on this grip here, and your left hand fingers go into the little notch there, so that your thumb can push this button, which lets some air in. It's a vacuum breaker. Okay, so you tip up in the corner, the contents come out of the outlet pipe, and then when you're done with that and it's empty, we want to put some fresh water in here and rinse it out a couple of times. So to do that, pull this cover back, open this valve anti-clockwise, and put in a couple of pints of water in there, maybe sort of a third, quarter full. Turn that back, slide this back over, put the cap back on the outlet pipe, and then just move it around a bit backwards and forwards just to rinse everything out, and then empty it out in the same way through the outlet pipe. Do that a couple of times just to clear it out, and then make sure the cap is on tight. Turn this back into position and carry your cassette back to your motorhome, where we can fill it up with new chemicals. So in the garage of the motorhome, you're going to find the toilet chemicals, this blue bottle, and a bottle of water, and you'll have a beaker as well. What we're going to do is to put one beaker, which is 100 millilitres of this blue chemical, into the toilet cassette. Same way as before, just slide back the cover, turn the valve, and that'll give us access. So in goes our toilet chemicals. This stuff sticks to the edge of the beaker a fair bit, so when you put in your first bottle of water, just rinse it out a little bit, and you can use your fingers to clean it since you're wearing gloves. So here's our third bottle of water going in. It's just normal water, so if you don't have a tap at your plot, then you can just fill it up at the kitchen sink. And then we're going to close off this valve, slide the cover back over again, make sure that this is folded and that the end cap is on tight, and then simply insert your cassette back into the drawer, push so that this blue clip engages. Close and lock the cassette drawer. So this is how to fill the fresh water which supplies your basins and your shower and your toilet flush. You need to do this as often as you can. Whenever you have the opportunity of having access to an outside tap that has a hose lock fitting, like at campsites or pubs or what have you, do fill it up. So open the cap there, use the black key on the fob to unlock this, turn it anti-clockwise to 180 degrees whilst holding the cap in place, and then it will just undo and come out. And we're going to put our hose pipe in there, and you're looking for the opening to the tank, so you might have to fish about a bit. If you feel it stopping, you're not in, you need to rotate until you find the opening, and then it will go further in, and you'll feel the tank sort of grab the pipe a little bit. The other end will be a hose lock fitting which just pushes in like that, clicks into place. Now to undo that when you've done filling, by the way, you just pull this down. If this adapter is missing at the campsite tap, then you will find a spare one in the garage. So we hook that in, turn the tap on fully. When the tank is full, it'll just spill out of the opening like this. And we just put the cap back in again. Don't forget to lock it by turning clockwise 180 degrees and close the lid. Sometimes you can't get close enough to the supply tap on the campsite, perhaps it's waterlogged or you're camping off grid, in which case you can use the bucket and funnel system. So it's just a case of filling up the bucket from the tap, carrying it across the field to the van, and this goes into the water tank, and one person holds it while the other one pours the water in. Take about 8 to 10 bucket loads to fill a tank. This is your grey water waste valve. Grey water is the water that's come from the shower and the basins. On larger campsites there'll be a drive over grate where you empty this. On smaller ones they might tell you just to empty the grey water where your van is sitting on your pitch. To empty the grey tank you want to pull this lever here firmly towards you, and any wastewater will then flow out of the tank directly underneath there behind the valve. And once it's empty, push this back in again. It's quite hard to push sometimes. It might be easier just to bang it on the side like this a couple of times. That's more effective. If the campsite does say to empty this where your van is sitting, then I would recommend opening the valve when you arrive and just leaving it open for the duration of your stay on the pitch, so that as you're having a shower in the basins, the water just goes straight through as you're using it. If you leave it to build up and then empty 70 or 80 litres of grey water onto the pitch in one go, you might create a bit of a mud problem. If you're on unlevel ground where you're staying overnight, you can use the levelling blocks. Now these you just basically drive up to one of these 3 levels, and you might do this on just one front wheel if you're on a dip. You might do it on both front wheels, possibly both back wheels if you're sloping down towards the rear, in which case you reverse onto them. And sometimes your whole van is tilting, let's say, to the left, and then you'd put them under both left wheels. So as you drive up these, obviously your passenger needs to be outside, talking to you through the window and indicating when you're about to go off the front of them, so that you don't do that. There is a level inside the cab, so the driver can see roughly when you're level. And the main reason for using these is to make sure the fridge is approximately level, because otherwise it doesn't work very efficiently. To wind out the awning, we're going to need these 3 things out of the garage: the awning handle, the pegs and the mallet. To open the handle, just do that. The eye up here, and wind the awning out until you can reach the leading edge. About 1 metre or a bit more than that, just to here. Okay, so we now need to bring out the support leg, which is underneath the lip here. You need to pull out at this end, and at this end here we need to make sure this pivot comes out like that. Then you can twist the leg downwards. So now we undo this flywheel here, and the leg extends downwards to the ground like that. We're going on an outward angle, put it to the ground to take some weight off the awning, and then tighten off the wing nut again, and do the same on the other leg. Okay, so now we can carry on winding the awning out, and you'll see that it's moving further out. As we do that, the legs are starting to bend inwards, so we readjust them both on an outward angle, and then we can carry on winding the awning out. Now you need to stop, just come under here and have a look at the angle of the legs there. So you want to stop before this goes straight, so keep a reasonable angle on it so it doesn't lock out. Once the leg is out, you want to bang the pegs, just one is enough, through the leg into the grass so that the canopy can't move. So to put it away again, we need to move the legs inwards and then start winding it in.
when the leg's on an outward angle, just move them further in. Wind it a bit further. Okay, so we then need to fold the leg away. So if you loosen off the wing nut, you don't need to go down to the ground. Just use the wing nut to slide it up and then tighten up at the top and do the same on the other leg. Fold the leg up. It's very important to make sure that this pivot goes in cleanly like that. And then at the other end, make sure that the foot here is folded in and it just clips in. And then finally wind the awning all the way back in again and unhook like this.